The session has ended.
Hello, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I'm Patrick O'Riordan, Director of the Department of Building Inspection. Before we get started, I want to just take a moment to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy day to ask questions, share your perspectives, and to offer us advice on how we can improve. Hearing from you is obviously a critical part of our improvement efforts, and I feel grateful to have you all as partners. We have an agenda. Today we have an agenda packed with updates. You'll hear from our Permit Center team and the SFPUC on recent changes to the Non-Potable Water Ordinance. We're also happy to have Katie Tang, who is the new Director of the Office of Small Business, here to update you all on the small business services that are now available at the Permit Center, along with the grants available to assist the small business owners who need to make accessibility improvements. The Office of Small Business is a critical and a crucial part of the Accessible Business Program, which we refer to as the ABE program. And they're an important part of that work as we work together to ensure businesses are accessible for all. Obviously, we continue to focus on improving our customer experience and streamlining our services, continuing to improve reforms, and of course, to restore the public's trust in the department. And really, these public advisory forums are a great opportunity for us to hear from you. So tell us what's working, and also tell us on what we can improve on. And that all leads to improving how we can serve you and the city. Thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Jeff Buckley, who will facilitate today's program. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Director O'Riordan. Appreciate it. I'll bring up my screen. Right. So today is the April 27th Spring Public Advisory Forum. So as Director O'Riordan mentioned, we have a number of updates that I wanted to walk you through. So the first, of course, is our meeting guidelines, but I wanted, we always hear from our Permit Center on any updates that they have. And so we will hear from Gus Bjorquez, the manager of the Permit Center. And then as Director O'Riordan mentioned, we will hear from the SFPUC's Ian Long about changes to the Non-Potable Water Ordinance. And then just a point of order for our program. Director Tang is running a little bit late, so what we are going to do is move up the program's update for the Accessible Business Entrance Program and the Facade program before the Office of Small Business update, and she will come after that around 4 o'clock. And then afterwards, you'll hear from our Deputy Director for Inspection Services, Joe Duffy, and also it'll be an opportunity for you to raise any inspection-related questions or have comments. And then we will have our Deputy Director for Plan Review, Neville Pereira, provide a little bit of an update on what's going on in his division, and also hear from you on areas that pertain to plan review. And then lastly, we reserve the bulk of the time for general questions and comments. And we also want to hear from you about suggestions for future topics and next steps. So meeting guidelines, as always, department staff will speak on the listed agenda items. Each item will be followed by an opportunity for you to ask questions or make comments and suggestions. The public comment call-in number is 415-655-0001, and the access code is 2489-721-6524. To raise your hand for public comment on a specific agenda item, please just press #3 when appropriate and prompted by the meeting moderator. And then lastly, try and keep your comments, just be mindful of everyone's time and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less for each topic. Please refrain from questions about specific projects or applications so that everyone can benefit from the discussion and we can have more time for more questions. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gus, who's going to provide an update from the Permit Center.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. Yes, let's talk some updates. Jeff, were you going to share the slides or am I sharing?
You can share from your screen. Just Monique, can you give him privileges?
Okay.
Just one moment.
Okay, sharing them now. Okay, awesome. Great. Thank you. Yeah, we have some exciting updates that are taking place in the Permit Center. The first is going to be queuing updates. So we have some self-queuing that's taking place. We put together some self-service kiosk, which will allow customers to queue directly themselves into the departments for business services, business, construction, special event services. These kiosks, self-service kiosks, will be located on the first and second floor. Just as a note, the kiosk will allow you to get in line for one queue at a time. There's a limit based on your phone number, so you will only be allowed to get in queue for one queue or one line. But that brings on, and actually the self-service kiosk will come up online on Monday, or we're hoping by Monday of next week, but definitely no later than Wednesday or Thursday of next week. So look out for those kiosks. Again, one on the first floor, one on the second floor. We also will have Permit Center staff next to the kiosk to help you if you have any questions on some of the options that are available in the self-service kiosk. The next thing is concurrent queuing. So really excited to talk about this. I know many customers have asked whether they can join more than one line at a time. Unfortunately, Queueless isn't really built for multiple queuing, so we've had to create some workarounds to allow for this. So beginning, and we're still tweaking the process, so we're going to roll this out later in May. And what's going to happen is you will be allowed to join one additional queue. And the second queue, you'll go through the Permit Center team, and the Permit Center team at the help desk will add you to that second queue. There's a maximum of 2 queues, so you only be able to join no more than 2 queues at a time. And so, and part of the reason is there are limitations, as I mentioned with Queueless. For example, all of the queue messaging, as Queueless, as you enter the queues, you get text messages. All of these text messages will appear on one string. So you will have multiple messages on the same string for each queue. And as you know, with Queueless, there's operations. You can leave the line, you could request more time. Unfortunately, if you were to choose those options, it's going to affect your wait in both queues. So there's some workarounds, some limitations that we're still working on, and that's part of the reason why we'll launch later in May. But yeah, currently, just so that you know, if you, and this is happening today, if you're entering a queue and the wait is longer than 60 minutes, we are allowing for you to join a second queue. So keep that in mind if this is happening today. If you are in a line that's longer than 60 minutes, or a department or a service or a queue that's longer than 60 minutes, you can ask our Permit Center team to join a second queue, and we'll help you with that. So keep that in mind. The Print Center, we've had the Print Center open, I'd like to say, for about two to 3 months now. As a reminder, the Print Center, located on the second floor, can provide you a copy service, print service, scan service. So for those of you that would like to print your, for example, street space signs with Public Works, you can do that in-house here in the Permit Center. And the process is pretty efficient. It looks, on average, you're waiting about 10 or 15 minutes to get the sign printed. If not even, I've seen it faster. It just depends on the time of day. But yeah, please, if you need any type of print service, doesn't even necessarily have to be part of our permitting process. Just if you have documents that you'd like to print, documents you'd like to copy, you can join the print center line. Our permit center team, help desk and team can help you join the print services to get your printing needs. Also coming later in June, we're going to be offering notary service, so that's exciting. We'll be able to assist you with your notary needs. Currently, we have our permit center team, or actually 3 of them have already passed the exam and are waiting for their documents from the state and stamps, and then there's oaths and bonds to be filed, and lo and behold, we'll be able to offer you notary services here in the permit center. So that's coming. We'll activate that program later this year, or fiscal year, so in June. I would like to remind everyone that, believe it or not, we still have a lot of plans in the vault. As you know, last year, while we went through the expanding of services in the permit center, we were collecting a lot of paper during the pandemic plans. So we have a lot of plans that need to be returned to customers. These are plans that are in mid-review, picked up for comments. Believe it or not, we also have plans from permits that are issued and have that have job cards. So what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to customers and contacts that are in PTS for these projects to ask you to come pick up the plans or let us know what you'd like to do with these plans. So that is happening in the next week or two. So look out for that. Another kiosk, another self-service that we are launching, and this will begin on Monday. These are the payment kiosks. So this is where you can go pay for a public works permit. They're also going to be able to take payments for planning, for SF planning. These kiosks are located close to the public works counters on the second floor. The kiosk will accept credit cards and cash, checks and cash, but with cash, you'll actually, I believe cash it's unable to make change. So for now, I believe it's going to be credit cards and checks. Cash is coming in the future once we're able to make some change for you. Again, this public works and planning. More departments will be added later this year. Some departments are fire, MOD, Mayor's Office of Disability, Entertainment Commission, Board of Appeals, as well as other print center services. So we are prioritizing departments based on whether or not they have cashier capability here in the permit center. So that's exciting, and that'll happen on Monday for our public works and planning self-payments. Feedback loop. So in the permit center, we see a lot of you every day, and come up to us and make suggestions, and we appreciate that. Please, we all are about improving the level of service in the permitting world in the permit center, and so please continue to come up to us. But if you're not on site and you have an idea or a suggestion, please send your thoughts to us or suggestions through us through our email, which is permitcenter@sfgov.org. Pretty soon, we were going to launch a self-service e-form on our website where you'll be able to provide these comments or suggestions, as well as ask for help or assistance through our website, through an e-form. So that's to come. But again, I appreciate everyone's suggestions, everyone's help on making this permit center the best possible. And thank you.
Thank you, Gus. So members of the public, if you have any questions related to the permit center update, this is your time to ask questions.
There are no hands raised.
Okay. Thanks again, Gus. Appreciate it. And if any, for members of the public, if any questions come to you, there will be an opportunity at the end during our general comment for you to ask questions. I believe we have a member of the public who has his hands raised.
Can you tell me their name?
It's David Penn.
I see. Thank you.
Hey,
David is
Gus.
unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, Gus. Thank you, Gus. I just wanted to acknowledge all of your efforts, and it's really appreciated. I think these are really wonderful developments, each and every one of them. And yeah, just really appreciate you and all of your staff. And I think it's going to just increase the efficiency and functioning of 49 South Van Ness. And the print center is great. I'm glad that you mentioned that about the, printing it for whatever's needed. I actually printed. I'm taking my 11-year-old to his first concert, and I printed out some concert posters for him at the print center, and it was awesome.
That's great, David. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you to everyone, customers, that come into the permit center every day, and just for your patience as we transition and add more services and adjust these services so that they're the best and most efficient and effective possible. Thank you so much, David, for your feedback and your suggestions and your patience.
Thank you.
Right. I don't see anyone else in the queue. So if we could move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Gus. We have Ian Long from the SFPUC, who is going to be presenting on the changes to the non-potable water ordinance. Monique, could you give Ian sharing privileges?
Just one moment. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I wanted to share some updates with the non-potable ordinance program. I'm Ian Long. I'm the manager of the PUC group here at the Permit Center. In addition to the capacity charges program and permit review that we do, we are charged with enforcement for some of these ordinances relating to water and wastewater. So the non-potable ordinance has been around since 2015. It requires that large new development projects capture, treat, and reuse alternate water sources on site for non-potable uses. There are a number of departments that are actually involved in this process. So here at the Permit Center, we mostly capture projects for compliance. We work with our Water Resources Division group to review additional documents for the types of systems and the amount of water use offset. They're actually coordinating with additional departments in the city, like the health department, to make sure that the system is being operated safely and adequately for the building. And then, of course, DBI is doing code review for the system and making sure that it complies with all the various regulations on that side of things. So in the 2021 revision, the SFPUC recognized an opportunity to further increase potable water offsets from new buildings and development projects. The analysis that we conducted of the non-potable ordinance program resulted in streamlining of the ordinance requirements. And we also increased the opportunities for cost-effective systems. Primarily, the changes that were applied were that the threshold for compliance was lowered from 250,000 gross square feet of construction to 100,000 gross square feet of construction. This means a larger number of projects will need to comply with the ordinance now and include a non-potable treatment plant inside the building in order to meet the offset requirements. Buildings that are 100% commercial now must reuse all wastewater, not just gray water on site. and multifamily residential and mixed-use buildings need to meet the clothes washing demands within the building, as well as the toilet flushing and irrigation demand, which was under the previous requirement. In addition to these amendments, the exempt projects would be 100% affordable housing and homeless supportive housing, hospital, health service, and institutional healthcare facilities, and facilities zoned for production, distribution, and repair, and industrial use. Additionally, projects are now required to reuse their air conditioning condensate and to reuse water on site for drain trap priming if applicable. We did remove the requirements for the reuse of rainwater, but that's allowed should project designers choose to use rainwater. There was also a modification to the SFDPH penalty structure to improve enforcement and increase SFDPH application fees to cover the oversight of this program. Just to share a short outline of the steps in the process in order to get the system operational and to continue safe operation for the life of the building. It's not shown here, but just to specify for anyone who might be curious, as this relates to permitting, we would be signing off and approving a permit either around step 2 or 3, depending on the type of project. So fairly early on in this project, your permit would be approved, and the process would be able to continue for the remainder of the compliance steps. There was going to be a program manager from Water Resources Division here with me today, but unfortunately she's sick. And so if you have any questions specifically about the program, you can reach out to the Water Resources Division here. There's also additional information on the website that describes the program, has the water budget application, which is a major part of the process, and other documents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. So if members of the public have any questions that they want to ask, I know Ian said that a member of his team may not be present, but we can always jot down whatever questions you have and make sure to get them answered. Now is your time.
Checking for hands. Not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. So if members of the public have questions later on, again, there will be a time during the general public comment where you can address questions related to this, at that time. Right. So Monique, could I get access to share my screen again?
Sure, just one moment.
Thank you. Seem to have some difficulties being able to show it. Sorry, folks, give me a second. There we go. Sorry about the delay. So we have two program updates that we wanted to provide for you. That's the Accessible Business Entrance Program, or ABE program, and also the Facade Inspection Program. So as a reminder, so our Accessible Business Entrance Program is done by Ordnance, and it helps property owners comply with existing state and federal accessibility laws. And the purpose is really to ensure that persons with disabilities can have access to public goods and services that are offered through San Francisco businesses. So as mentioned before, this is a program that was done by Ordnance by the Board of Supervisors nearly a decade ago, and then was the program was ultimately reinstated and then continued for 2 additional years. And so we have ways of getting into compliance. And so ultimately you will need to submit an initial form, pre-screening form, a waiver form, or a category checklist compliance form. And these forms in the category compliance checklist form needs to be completed by a licensed engineer or architect, or a CASP, a certified access specialist, as part of the site inspection. So property owners do have the ability to seek waivers, but they will need to be deliberative about seeking that. And then second, as I mentioned before, the program was basically had its deadlines pushed back 2 years. So the new deadline to be able to submit the initial forms is on June 30th of this year. And then to secure any necessary permits, you'll need to do that by the end of this calendar year of December 31st. And then lastly, to complete all the necessary renovations, that will need to be done by September 29th, 2023. And so we have a new website. This website allows you to be able to submit forms online and also documents that are necessary. So we're trying, this is, I think, in the spirit of trying to increase our customer service for you. We've made this website fully operational for you to be able to submit those forms and whatever documents are necessary. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible for you. And so in addition to that, I wanted to give an update on the facade inspection program. Again, like the Accessible Business Entrance Program, this was done by Ordnance in 2016. And the purpose is to ensure that San Francisco property owners are safely maintaining the exterior of their buildings that are 5 stories or more. So the facade inspection program, as I mentioned before, really requires that the facades of San Francisco buildings of 5 stories or more are regularly inspected by a California licensed architect or engineer to ensure the safety for the public. And this inspection and subsequent maintenance work needs to be documented in a report and submitted to us at San Francisco's Department of Building Inspection. And then after the initial inspections, the buildings must be re-inspected and reports must be submitted every 10 years. So right now, if you are an owner or operator of a building that was built prior to 1910, the reports were due at the end of last calendar year. If you are in a building that is older, whether from 1910 or 1970, you can see the rolling schedule for compliance that takes place every 2 years. And so again, as mentioned before, periodic inspections are required every 10 years following the initial submittal. And so the process looks like building owners really need to make sure that they know their deadlines and that they hire a California licensed architect or engineer to do the work. And then owners really have to make sure that any necessary maintenance or repairs are done and that it's submitted, whether it's a waiver or whether it's the report, are submitted to the department. And that DBI, we review the reports. We may issue comments that require additional work. And then we assess fees for the review of the inspection report based on the number of plan review hours that are spent on it. And then once the report is approved, the owner pays the associated fees and receives an acceptance letter. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if you have any questions.
There's one hand raised.
Hello?
Anne,
Oh,
go
yes.
ahead.
Okay. I just want to commend you, Mr. Buckley, and your staff in doing an incredible website program for the accessible building entrance. It's very easy to get through. You've also provided a way if there's difficult issues to get a hardship process, go through the hardship process, and you explained it. It's explained very clearly. So I just want to commend you on your effort, especially with the small business owners in San Francisco. It's an easy process. So I got to commend you for your work and your effort. So thank you.
Thank you, Anne. We really appreciate it. I want to provide a tip of the cap to Patrick Hannon, our communications director, who really led on that effort, as well as with Tom Fessler from the Technical Services Division. They really did the bulk of the work, and we appreciate you recognizing it.
There's one more caller.
Hi there, my name is Serena. I'm a local architect. We did a lot of ABE applications for a few of our clients many years ago, and I think there was some confusion caused. They recently received letters saying that they needed to meet the new deadline, and so we've actually had a flurry of recalls from clients just trying to confirm, was their application submitted, were the forms filed. I'm wondering if there is a possibility for all of these programs to create a forward-facing transparent site that maybe you can search your address and see if your forms have already been filed. And also for things like a deadline for 10 years, properties change hands pretty frequently sometimes in the city. And so the new property owner may not know that they're not in compliance any further. So my recommendation would be to try to add this maybe to the property information map. Just to say, yes, it's been filed, here's when it was filed, and then here's the permit that is associated for the improvements, if there were any that were required. I think that would be really beneficial. So that's my recommendation. Thank you.
And there's another caller.
Hi, this is Todd Smith. I'm an architect in San Francisco, and I had a question about the facade ordinance. And some of our clients who may not have completed the work or have started the work for a building that is due in the first tier. Of course, we'd like to get them going and get going on all this work, but what is it that you want us to tell them about what would happen if they didn't do it?
On that one, I would defer to Deputy Director of Inspection Services, Joe Duffy. Do you want to talk about the code enforcement process at a high level?
Thank you, Jeff. Joe Duffy here, DBI Inspection Services. As with any ordinance, there are going to be time limits on. And if you didn't comply, it would probably end up getting a notice of violation. You'd probably get a second notice of violation. There could be a director's hearing. That hasn't happened.
I know you couldn't do that, but I just
program yet.
I know
but,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry, can everyone mute their
Sorry.
background? Someone's speaking. Thank you.
So at some point, it would end up at a director's hearing. At this point, that program has not reached that point. What I would say is, please consult with that DBI website for the program, and if you have any questions, just email the Technical Services Division. We've been getting some queries from architects and property owners on the program, and if it's not something that Technical Services can deal with, they will forward it on to our code enforcement people.
And as for the previous caller who asked if we could add the accessible business entrance program or the facade program to the property information map. I think that's a really interesting idea. And I don't know if Patrick Hannon, if that's anything you want to respond to, or if there's anything in the works that can address improved access to information, either through the website or through some of the existing websites that the city has.
Yeah, let me let us look into it. We don't manage the PIM, the property information map website, but we can reach out to them and see if they're open to including some of this information out there. The other thing is one of the tools as part of the updated ABE website. We also did create a way for you to check and make sure using the address or the block and lot that the address is in the program. That doesn't address, of course, the issue that you raised if people were getting second notices after they've already complied, but it will help people confirm that they're actually in the program and it wasn't at least according to our records.
Right. Thank you, Patrick. So I don't see any other attendees with their hands up. So this might be a good opportunity to transition over to Katie Tang, if she is with us. Which I don't see her having joined yet. So what we can do is move on in the agenda and we can come back to this. So if we could get an update from Inspection Services and Joe Duffy.
Afternoon, everyone. Just Joe Duffy here again from Inspection Services, Deputy Director. So just want to get through some activity that we've had for Inspection Services since our last meeting. We are finding that we are getting a lot of retirements and therefore new inspection staff are coming on board for each of our inspection divisions. We have increased our orientation for new inspectors and that's been working out really well. We also have all of our inspectors in housing, code enforcement, plumbing, electrical, and building have undergone customer service training that was set up by human resources. We got some great feedback on that, and that always helps us with dealing with the public. And if that's something that's an ongoing thing that our new director has initiated. The inspection staff are also undergoing blueprint training for field inspection staff, and that's something that hopefully all of our inspectors will be seeing in the next couple of years. It'll help us in the field as well as we move forward, and we're excited about that. Our inspection activity has been very steady over the last several months. Numbers are holding firm on our inspection activity, and the other thing I just wanted to touch on was a lot of where we still get people coming down to 49 South Van Ness to the 4th floor to renew permits or extend permits or to get electrical or plumbing permits. A lot of our services now are online. We don't need to have people come the whole way down here to try and find parking to renew a permit or extend a building permit. Simply sfdbi.org or our dbi.inspectionservices@sfgov.org. You can do all that. You can get invoiced online and extend your permit and renew your permit. It'll save you a lot of time doing that. The other thing I'd like to touch on as well is we are exploring a new program where we will be helping businesses, particularly small businesses, trying that are doing maybe a first-time tenant improvement or upgrading their business. When they're coming to the end of the project, we're finding that sometimes there's questions about inspections, whether special inspections aren't cleared, if they need electrical sign-off, plumbing sign-off, and sometimes there's just due to maybe miscommunication, there's sometimes a delay in getting the the business going. So we are exploring ways of reach that customers, or if it's a contractor or a business owner, can reach out to our department. And if they're hitting a block along the road, maybe it's just an explanation, something simple that can be resolved. But that we're working on that, and we're hoping to get that out maybe by the summer and the next few months. So I don't have anything else, Jeff, apart from if anyone has any questions, more than happy to try and answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So if members of the public have any inspection related questions, this is your time to ask Joe. So please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. All right.
No hands are raised.
Seeing no hands, I think at this point we'll move on to Deputy Director of Plan Review, Neville Pereira, for an update. Neville?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay, Jeff? Yeah, all right. My time here is really to listen to you guys, but a few things that are coming up real soon. As of the end of the fiscal year, July 1st, beginning of the next fiscal year, the Department of Building Inspection will be taking over the application process for accessory dwelling units, which is currently managed by planning. We want to acknowledge that planning really stepped up and came to our rescue during the pandemic when we were inundated with other work, to be able to take over this process and actually developed a very good electronic process. We've heard nothing but good things about it. Things have settled down since, and DBI is going to take over that process as of July 1st. So look for that. There'll probably be a way to continue to do it electronically. Well, there will be a way to continue to do it electronically through the website. And we're just engaging the processing through DBI there. I believe that's it, Jeff, from Plan Review.
That's great. Thanks, Neville. So if members of the public have any questions they want to ask of Neville or our Plan Review team, now's the time.
Not seeing any hands raised.
So, uncharacteristically quiet bunch. But what we can do, if there are any additional comments or questions, we can reserve them for the general comment period. So I see that Katie Tang, the Director of the Office of Small Business, has joined us. So Katie has a presentation she wanted to share with us, Monique. So if you could allow her to share her screen, she'll be able to present on the updates for the Office of Small Business and some of their grants and assistance that they have available, particularly for accessibility issues. Thank you, Katie, for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I apologize that I had trouble getting onto my iPad and I don't have a webcam yet. So you probably can't see me at this moment, but can you see the slides okay?
Yes, we can see them there. If it was possible to maximize it, that would be great.
Okay, let's see. Oops. How's that? No?
That's better.
Okay. All right, great. So thanks everyone. Katie Tang from the Office of Small Business. So just wanted to share a couple updates with all of you. One being that we are now at the Permit Center over at 49 South Van Ness offering small business permitting support. And then secondly, wanted to share some information about the Accessibility Inspection Grant Program, which we are currently running and have applications available. So in terms of the Office of Small Business over at the Permit Center, we are here and we have 2 dedicated staff over at Station 77 and 79 to help anyone at any point in their permitting journey. And we are there Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon and 1 to 5 p.m. We still do have our City Hall office for any non-permitting general business needs, but wanted to make sure that anyone who has any inquiries, whether they're starting a new storefront or expanding into a new space, we hope that people will consult with someone over at any of these counters so that they can really understand the full picture and scope of what their project will entail. So our staff there will serve as the main point of contact for small businesses and share information also about other city programs and resources available. Just as an example, with Proposition H, meaning that small business projects and others receive 30-day review, or the Community Business Priority Processing Program under the Planning Department for also fast-tracked review by the Planning Commission, or first year free, where fees are waived for those starting out a new business. So any of their permit fees would be waived, as well as any grant programs. We also help to interpret information from different agencies, and that's important because a lot of times businesses are getting information from different departments and may not actually understand what that actually translates into. And so we do help with that. We also serve as a small business advocate for those who may just be stuck in a process somewhere in their journey. And lastly, I think most importantly, we do watch out for any recurring issues, and we'll be proposing any solutions to help with a more efficient processing of small business permits. So in terms of the accessibility inspection grant program that we have going on right now, we have timed it so that it coincides with a deadline under the Accessible Business Entrance Program regulations, where property owners are supposed to submit a checklist to DBI by June 30th. So right now, through June 30th, we have a program where small businesses, so not the property owner, but the small business, can be reimbursed for accessibility inspections. So not the actual construction work, but inspections. They can get reimbursed up to $1,000 if they have an inspection done of their front entrance, and up to $3,000 if they do an inspection of their entire store space. So this would apply to any businesses that have space on the ground floor and offer a place of public accommodation. And the URL for more information is sf.gov/ABE grant. So that is just one of several grants that we are working on. So after this accessibility inspection grant program ends, our office plans to launch another grant program in the summertime for accessibility improvements for small businesses. And we intend for that grant to cover furniture, fixtures, and equipment related to accessibility upgrades. We also are providing, and we're trying to embed into any of our services at the Permit Center, information about accessibility, ADA requirements, including the Accessible Business Entrance Program. So we try to advise small businesses to pursue accessibility improvements or an inspection at minimum. We connect them to resources such as CASP inspectors, legal support, and grant programs, as I just discussed earlier. And we have been also engaging in merchant walks to share resources in person with small businesses that may not see information about these programs via the internet or social media, et cetera. So that's the overview for today. If anyone has any questions, I'll stick around for those, but also wanted to share our contact information here. We're always accessible via email. We have updated our website so it's more user-friendly. And of course, anyone can visit us at the Permit Center at Station 77 and 79.
I do see one hand raised.
Hi there, I'm a local architect. I just had a question, Katie. I think this is so great to see that there's some small business relief financially for these improvements. I know they've been extraordinarily expensive. You mentioned that there's a reimbursement for inspections. I guess my curiosity was inspections by whom? Does that mean the small business owners are calling an architect like me, or they're calling the city for these inspections? Could you just kind of clarify that a little?
Sure, thank you. That's a great question. So under the Accessible Business Entrance Program, inspections, the checklist can be submitted by either a CASP inspector, a licensed architect, or a licensed engineer. So a small business, we've been sharing with them that if they do, to satisfy the Accessible Business Entrance Program requirements, they can get an inspection done by any one of those, and we will reimburse them for an inspection done by any of those. For an inspection of their entire store space, we don't specify that, because this isn't covered under the Accessible Business Entrance Program. But again, we will, I mean, typically it would probably be done by a CAST inspector, but we are happy to reimburse for architects or licensed engineers as well.
Okay, there's another caller.
Hi, this is Erin Carson at MoCD. We work a lot with new commercial small businesses, and I was just curious if this applies to new space or only for tenant improvement of existing buildings. Thank
Are you talking about the Accessible Business Entrance Program?
No, I was talking about the
Oh, the grant?
The grants as well as the reimbursement for inspections.
So the reimbursement for inspections would be for any, basically any space, any small business where the landlord is asking them to take on and shoulder the cost for an inspection, we don't distinguish between old or new businesses.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Another caller.
Yeah, this is Ken. So I'm a little bit confused when you say reimbursement for inspections. So if a landlord asks for an inspection, or if the notice goes to the landlord, would the landlord be entitled to being reimbursed? And then is there a dollar amount that would be reimbursable, or how does that work?
Yeah, so to clarify, so the Accessible Business Entrance Program requirements are on the property owner. However, through contractual agreement, those responsibilities could be turned on to the small business owner. In those cases where the property owner is asking or requiring the small business owner to shoulder those responsibilities, that's where our program is trying to benefit the small business owner that needs to carry on that cost or those responsibilities. So it is a reimbursement basis, meaning in order to even submit your application, you go to our website, you'll see that you have to actually upload the paid invoice. So the paid invoice, the invoice that was made out to the small business owner or the small business, and shows that it was paid in full. And then if you've done an inspection for your front entrance only, we will reimburse up to $1,000. And if you've done an inspection for your entire storefront, then we will reimburse up to $3,000.
Seeing no more callers. Oh, nope, sorry, no more callers.
Okay, thank you, Director Tang. We really appreciate you coming here.
Thank you.
So now is the opportunity for members of the public to ask questions, both of DBI staff here, but also we have representatives from different departments. We have Rich Sucre from the Planning Department. We have Bernie C. From DPW. And Ian Long has stuck around from SFPUC to be able to answer any questions. In addition to that, we have Lieutenant Fire Marshal Kathy Harold, who is on a call that we can be able to access her in case there are any fire-related questions. So please, members of the public, if you could queue up and let us know who you would like to direct the question to. This is your opportunity.
Let me unmute the first caller. Just 1 second. Caller 415-770. You're unmuted.
Hi, this is Gillian Allen. I was calling to ask a question. I have two questions. One is for DPW, so I'm not sure if there's anybody attending.
We have a representative from DPW here. So you can feel free to ask
Okay.
your question.
Great. So a lot of times we have over-the-counter permits with existing conditions, minor sidewalk encroachment, and they've never had one documented before. And the process to document those existing conditions is fairly quick on our part, but it gets lengthy in terms of getting that MSE out of DPW. So the over-the-counter permit turns into a several months, sometimes process. I'm just wondering if there's any way that that could be, you know, sort of improved.
Yeah, Jillian, this is Bernie with Public Works. We are actually looking at a potential process improvement to take the existing condition MSCs and separating them from other permits so that we can kind of expedite those quick and easy ones out. So hopefully within the next few months, we'll be able to start doing more of that to get those, like you said, the very simple existing condition permits reviewed and not get kind of stuck behind the larger permits. Hopefully that answers your question.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose the caller or?
No, she's there.
Okay.
Oh, hi, thank you. I got muted. Thank you, Bernie. That's really great news. I did have another question for Neville, if he's still on, and that was basically just to find out if there's going to be any sort of third review track for permits that are a little too large for over the counter, but not really a lengthy intake review. More like commercial TIs that are just too big for over the counter.
Yeah, thank you for that question. We are looking into that right now. We are still programming it out, and as soon as we're ready to introduce it, we will hold a public forum like this just to get your input on it. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. I know the developers are very excited about that. So thank you to everybody on the call. We really appreciate all of your hard work.
Okay, let me move on to the next caller.
Hi there, it's Serena again. So I had a question for DPW. I was curious, I know there had been conversation about a tracker, an online permit tracker coming out maybe at the beginning of this year. And I just was curious about the status of that. As I understood, there was a contract in place with a developer, and I just haven't seen it happen yet. So I was curious about that.
We are in contract currently and starting to work with the developer to improve and get us a new online permit system. That's good news. Unfortunately, the estimated implementation time is somewhere between 14 and 16 months. So if you could bear with us while we kind of go through the process. But it's coming.
I thank you for the update on that. Is there any way for us to just get more regular updates on the permits we've submitted? You know, we've had a lot of permits get lost in the system where even some from 2 years ago, the plan checker left the job, but then it didn't get moved to a new plan checker. And we honestly just lose track of the back and forth, how many times and whose ball the court is in, whose court the ball is in. So is there anything that you're doing in the interim? 14 to 16 months is going to be kind of a long time. Is there anything being done in the interim to make that process more transparent?
I would suggest or recommend that you send an email to our general email box. So that's actually monitored. We have staff specifically assigned to monitor our general email, and they can help direct and or elevate your permit.
I hear you. I'll be honest, it's been kind of a black hole. but we'll just continue to do what we've been doing, I guess it sounds like.
Yeah, I'll talk to the staff that's handling those emails, and see if we can improve on our performance.
That'd be great. I mean, other departments have generally a 24 to 48 hour turnaround on responses, and that's kind of what we would be looking for in general. We would really hope that that's something that could be implemented kind of as soon as possible.
Okay, yeah, we're trying for a 48-hour turnaround, but let me double check with the team.
Thanks, Bernie. I appreciate that.
Jeff, did Kathy want to speak? Should I unmute her?
I didn't see her hand raised.
It's not raised. She just wanted to confirm, and she gave the phone number again. I can unmute the phone number to see.
Sure, you can do that. Thank you, Monique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just my only comment on that as far as fire. If you look on DBI's permit tracking system, it'll have the name of the plan reviewer that your plans are assigned to, and you can contact that person directly, get an update on when your plans may, where they're at in line as far as review time. So that's my only comment.
Okay, thank you. Let me check for other callers. There are no other hands raised. I just found one. Mimi Sullivan? Hello? Mimi Sullivan, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, hi, I'm local architect. I have a question about over the counter. When we work with a lot of nonprofit developers who sometimes have some really small projects, and if they were privately funded, we'd go OTC easily. But when they have a penny of public money, we have to go to MOD. Is there any plan for MOD to have a counter for over the counter too? So it's a one-stop shopping for these smaller projects that would really benefit from that time frame.
Hi, this is Jimmy Chung with the over-the-counter manager. I think that's an answer for Gus at Permit Center. I don't know if there's room, counter space for MOD.
Yeah, I was going to direct that question to Gus. Gus, you take a crack at that one.
Yes, hi, thank you. Coincidentally, we just met with MOD last week to discuss the ability to have MOD service at the counter. For right now, they are not looking at having a service at the counter, since most of the projects, the majority of their projects are in-house and not over the counter. What I would recommend is reaching out to MOD directly. I have a contact for you that I could probably put in the chat, and provide that suggestion, and I can also follow up with the manager at MOD to let them know that there's some interest for MOD service. But as of right now, there are no plans to have MOD physically at the counter. We also have queue lists, so we were discussing potentially having a virtual queue where you could add yourself into the queue here at the Permit Center, and then an MOD representative will give you a call while you're here in the Permit Center. But I'll add something on the chat. I believe there's a chat option.
Actually, the chat is turned off, but I can turn it on if necessary. Well, maybe not.
Okay. I can give out the name. So the manager at MOD, his first name is John. So John. And that would be R-O-M-A-I-D-I-S, Romidis. John.Romidis, R-O-M-A-I-D-I-S, at sfgov.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gus.
And there is another caller. Mr. Nelson. Uh-oh.
Hi, sorry. This is Anita, and I just wanted to thank everyone. Actually, it's the feedback for planners and then everyone over the counter. It's really very much appreciated. All the efforts that's being done by everyone to make it easier for the public to have a better and efficient process. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other callers.
So again, members of the public, this is your opportunity to ask questions to any member of senior staff at DBI, or as well as representatives from different departments. So if you have any policy related questions, operational questions, this is your opportunity.
Seeing none.
Right. So our next topic is we wanted to hear your advice on what suggestions, or if you have any suggestions for future topics that we could have at the Public Advisory Forum. The next Public Advisory Forum is scheduled for August 31st. So we want to hear from you if you have any ideas for topics that should be considered.
Not seeing any hands raised.
Again, this is your chance to tell us what you would like to have on one of these public advisory forums. So if you have any ideas, please let us know. Okay.
No hands raised.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. So members of the public, we appreciate it. This concludes our Public Advisory Forum. So again, we really appreciate your questions. We appreciate our departmental partners for coming, both those who presented and those that made themselves available to answer any questions. And so please stay safe and have a good rest of your week.